Pause that music. All right, namaste. Thank you guys for joining me today for this blissful flow. We are on a chakra series. So last night I actually posted about it and I said, hey, I might be combining the 6th and the 7th because I've done that in years past. But the more I think about it, I don't want to do that. We have focused on each individual chakra for an entire week thus far. And during the entire week of the classes, I've given different tidbits of information regarding it and a different practice. So on Mondays, I've been offering kind of a general overview of it. And then on Wednesdays, I get a little bit more specific regarding it or looking at it at one particular angle. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So this week is about the 6th chakra. And the chakras are wheels of life force energy. I mentioned when I came back from Sedona with Chrissy that I understood like the chakras being like the inner vortexes in our system. They each govern something physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And so last week we focused on the throat center, the place of purification, the bridge and the passageway between the mind and heart, and mind and body. We talked about it being our voice, our expression, our truth, the sense of hearing going with this. So we're moving up now to the 6th. This concerns the location of the brow. And it's not just the brow, it's the prefrontal lobe of the brain, what lies behind the brow. And this is the place in the mind that allows us to see the big picture of things, that allows us to receive new insight. It what gives us inspiration, imagination, right? The creative visions, our dreams, our fantasies. Things that we envision for our future. And the most important thing, our intuitive knowing or inner knowing, inner wisdom. So this is a place where a lot of people meditate, shifting the gaze here while you're meditating actually helps to light up the prefrontal lobe of the brain. This has been studied with science. It has been studied with certain monks that meditate this way a lot. And it is shown that emotionally, it allows for a greater amount of compassion. So if you are lacking compassion for yourself or for others, meditating with the third eye is a great way to induce that. All right, so I look at the frontal part of the brow being like the kind of upper pole of the third eye, and the base of the skull being like, I'm going to say negative pole, the southern pole of the third eye. So if you look at the brain, what it lies here in the reptilian kind of part of the brain is more of the subconscious, things that we do out of reactivity, things that we do out of habit, things that we've been programmed with. Here in the upper lobe is where we're becoming more conscious and more aware. The awareness of third eye allows us to see patterns. It allows us to understand habits. And if we're able to see the habits that have formed and to see how those patterns affect us, then we can reflect on the past, bring it into the present, and have the possibility of altering and shaping our future. Because if we stay stuck in the same pattern and we're not getting anywhere, and if we still keep doing the same thing, making the same choices, we're not going to necessarily evolve or achieve what we want to gain. So it's an evolution of sorts. So with the third eye, the color is blue, indigo blue. Some people say purple. I usually say purple for the crown chakra. I don't think it really matters, blue or purple in the long run. I think it all kind of intermixes when it's the 6th and the 7th forming together. But the sixth chakra allows us the awareness to tap into a deeper state of consciousness. And that's where we'll be going next week with the super consciousness or the crown chakra. So the third eye is a very important part of the yoga and meditation practice. Think about if we envision something for ourselves and we're trying to bring it into manifestation, right? We need the vision first to flow down through the chakras so that we're acting accordingly to bring it into fruition. The same thing, moving up the ladder, we need the awareness to evolve, to make things better, to improve ourselves, to move up the ladder towards spiritual liberation. So we need that opening of the chakra to maintain both energies, right? The energy of matter and the energy of spirit. The traumas that can affect this is any type of invalidation of intuition. All right. If you have an intuitive feeling or an inner knowing about something and someone questions that or says no to that, or if you question or say no to that, that is going to start to create a block. And we all have these intuitive gifts. And we haven't been taught to listen to these gifts. You know, from a very early age, we're not taught to listen to this. So some of the positive things that can also come about from this area is clear seeing and clairvoyance. There are young children who talk about past lives, and yet they're told that can't be so. There are young children who see the spirit world, who are told that's their imagination, nothing is there. There are children who are tapped in psychically that are trying to say something to adults, and the adults are so blocked there that they shut it down. This happens to children all the time. My child actually picked up on spirits when we moved into this house. And I believed him because we were having weird things happening in the house. We would be in the living room, and in his nursery in the back of the house, he was only 2 and 3 years old in this house, his toys would play. And you'd have to press a button for it to play. There was nobody back there. The door to the bedroom would open and close. The air wasn't on. There was no reasoning for that, and it would happen randomly. There were all these different things that would happen. I would put him to bed at night, and he would say, "Mommy, I see a baby with pink wings flying above me." I was like, "Well, maybe it's your guardian angel." I never disqualified what he said. And I was like, "Are you scared of it?" "No, I'm not scared of it." And then he would see a man standing in the doorway. And I'm like, "What does the man look like?" "He's scaring me. He's staring at me." "Tell him to go away." I found out when we moved away from the house, I believed him and helped him through this. When I moved out of the house, the next door neighbor told me, "I don't know if you learned the history of the house you were living in, but this couple was extremely religious and had a teenage daughter that became pregnant. They dropped her out of school. They wouldn't let her go anywhere. She only went to the mailbox and back. She never left in the car. They were embarrassed. They were shamed. They let her have the baby in the house. They couldn't clear the fluid from the baby's throat. And it was a baby girl, and she died in the house. Baby with pink wings flying above. Musical instruments from his nursery playing. And then the man was the father who had died 6 months later from a heart attack in the house. How did my son pick up? He had never heard that story. I had never heard that story. And these are the things that he picked up in the house. He doesn't remember it today. But what if I hadn't validated that for him? What if I hadn't believed him? So many of us say these things. I remember saying things to my family at a young age, and I was told, shush. You know, I was shut down. So these kind of things happen to us. But those are traumas for the third eye. We're going to go ahead and get into the first breath work. And before we get into the first type of breath work, which is Nadi Shavasana, we're going to bring the hands to prayer position of the heart. We're going to align the thumbs right at the top of the sternum. We're going to close the eyes. And as you close the eyes, send your inner gaze to the midpoint of your brow. And at first, you may just see a black film, as if you were looking towards a dark movie screen. It's possible you may see some flickering of the lights coming through the lids, where it almost looks like static electricity. But see if you can become more one-pointed. See if you can use the realm of your imagination to create a blueness. It's okay if you can't. Let's try. Take a few deep diaphragmatic breaths. Feeling the wave of the breath undulate up into your heart center. And allowing it to roll back down to the core. Now that you've centered yourself, open the eyes. We're going to use the dominant hand, maybe your right, maybe your left. Your last two fingers are going to curl in towards your palm. Your first two, actually, let's do this. Let's loop the last two fingers together. This will be better. First two fingers at the third eye, and these fingers are going to hang down. And we're going to be lifting and descending the ring finger and the thumb. Okay? So close the right nostril with your thumb. Take a deep breath in. At the top of the in-breath, close the left nostril, lift the finger holding down the right, and breathe out through the right side only. Breathe in through the right. Breathe out through the left. Breathe in left. Breathe out right. Breathe in right. Breathe out left. In left. This time you breathe out right, lean to your right thigh. Inhale through the right and come back to center. Exhale, breathe out, lean left. Breathe in and up to center. Breathe out and down to the right. Alternate nostril breathing. Adding in this rocking mechanical motion. Find your own rhythm. Flow at your own pace. And recognize that anytime during the day, one or the other nostril is more dominant. This shows up when we have colds. So this type of pranayama work is going to create more equilibrium. It'll help us to strike a balance between the left and the right hemispheres of the brain. The logical and the intuitive. The name for the sixth chakra is Ajna, and it means to perceive. All right, we're going to do one more. To complete this, we breathe out and lean to the left. Remove the hand mudra from the face, breathe in through both nostrils as you rise to center. And take pause. Gazing in it up to your mind's eye. And noticing how that breathing meditation really drops you in. Helping you to get more grounded in yourself, more centered in your heart, more clear in your mind. So if just sitting to meditate is difficult for you, try doing a breathing meditation to prepare you. The element for the sixth chakra is light. So anytime the eyes are closed today, try to envision a beautiful blue or indigo light. And then gently begin to crack the lids of the eyes open. We're going to come away from anything that you're sitting on, and we're going to drop into child's pose. Now, the child's pose we're going to start with is the more traditional version, where the thighs are more knit together, the arms are circled around us. We have a slight egg shape with the spines, and we're resting on the brow, the third eye. Now, just to, kind of prove to you this chakra information really goes back in ancient times. This is not just new age information. I want you to consider a quote that's actually biblical. And it was said by Jesus. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be filled with light. So you're resting on this upper or northern pole of the third eye, of the brow. And think about where this southern pole is, the medulla oblongata, that little soft spot at the base of the skull. Picture a light, a beam of light coming down from the heavens through the mouth, that soft spot, and coming directly down to your third eye. Picture it as white, golden, or blue. And right in the center of that beam of light, at the center of our head, is what's called a pineal gland. And the pineal gland is something that often, it's being talked about a lot more nowadays, especially by Dr. Joe Dispenza, if you want to look him up. This is an important gland that helps us to be able to connect to the spiritual realm, to the intuitive realm, to the emotional realm. And I want you to picture this being like a seed, but then growing into like a large fruit that's ripe, plump. Spiritual nourishment. Inhale, stretch the arms forward and out. Lift your face up and look down the lane of your mat. Set your drishti on a place on your mat between or beyond your hands, without allowing the eyes to dance anywhere else. Setting your drishti point is also good to have one pointed focus. Lift the chest a little higher. Travel the arms over to the right side of your mat. Gently lay back over your lap. Now this time the head is okay to hover. It may not feel good to the neck to spill all the way down, so you don't have to force it. We're trying to promote a side bend. We're trying to promote more breath into the left lung, breaking up any tension that might have formed here, helping to oxygenate our bloodstream. Inhale, gently come up. Walk your hands back through center. Now to the left side. Extending long through the right arm. Curving into the side body. Now breathing more into the right lung. Feel it balloon out as you breathe in. Feel it soften as you breathe out. And on your next inhalation, gently begin to lift up. Walk your hands down the center of the mat again. Rock up to your hands and knees. Immediately curl the toes under and roll back to Adho Mukha Svanasana. So a couple of the ideal postures for the third eye is the child's pose that we started with. And this is a secondary pose that's excellent for the third eye. So I want you to feel how when we're inverted upside down, when we're grounding the hands and the feet, sending the sits bones high up, how yes, it's strengthening for the bones, strengthening and lengthening to the muscles. But feel how everything's cascading down towards the face, specifically the brow. Now begin to walk and travel the feet forward to the top of the mat, grounding your feet side by side. As you press down through the soles of the feet, feel the legs ignite with muscular activity. Let your upper body hang free, maybe hugging the abdomen in to engage the core to support the low back. And just nod your head, yes. Nothing dramatic, very subtle. And then inhale, sweep the arms to your sides and up overhead. Come to Urdhva Hastasana where the chin's parallel to the floor. You're looking straight ahead with your eyes. Exhale, release back down. Uttanasana. So even Uttanasana, we mentioned a great pose for the first chakra, for the legs, yes. But look at how we're hanging the head. This is a great stimulus to the pineal gland. Inhale, come halfway up. Lift and lengthen out through the crown. Set your eyes on one placement. And then exhale, step it back to plank. Immediately lower to chaturanga. Inhale, rise to upward facing dog. Exhale, rock and roll back to downward facing dog. All right, from here, we're going to step the right foot to the outside of the right hand. We're going to go ahead and sink the back knee to the floor and untuck the back toes. And we're just going to let the hips melt down. Now, you can be stacked on fists if you need to give your wrists a break from weight bearing. It's also perfectly fine if you have the flexibility to sink down to your forearms and lace your hands. If you do this next position, well, regardless which position you're in, hang your head, bow your head, close your eyes, gaze into the mind's eye, try to picture that blue light if possible. And it's okay if another color comes to you. Just notice what it is. It may be the chakra you need to put more attention towards. So I went out last night to grab some takeout, and it was in East Nashville. And I was driving back alongside the interstate and saw that the bridge downtown was in the rainbow colors. It was so pretty. And it just reminded me of this series we're doing. I know it was for Pride, Nashville Pride, but it still reminds me of the chakras. Take one more breath. All right, inhale, lift the head up, restack onto your hands, curl the back toes under. We're going right back to downward facing dog.
Now from Adho Mukha Svanasana, power down through your palms, lengthen up through your spine, push back with your thighs. And then inhale, step your left foot to the outside of your left hand, lunge that front knee, drop the back knee, untuck the back toes, and each side is different. So maybe one is stay stacked on your hands, maybe fist is best, and perhaps lowering if it's available. Try not to allow your left foot to turn or your knee to flop open. Keep the toes pointed to the top of the mat, bury down into the mound of the big toe and inner heel so the knee stays upright, closing towards your body. It's more active than yin. Good, return to your hands, curl the back toes under. We're stepping back to downward facing dog. However, from downward facing dog, we're gonna come back down to the knees, untuck the toes. We're gonna roll to a prone position and stack to the forearms for Sphinx. So in Sphinx pose, elbows underneath the head of the shoulder bones. That way you can prop up your heart, elongate the sides of your neck, as well as your legs, lifting through the crown of the head. But now close your eyes and gaze in and up to your mind's eye. So even though this isn't an inversion, we can bring in the third eye element or activation with our gaze, with our inner focus. Breathe it away so you can hear it. Like Ujjayi Pranayama. Exhale, relax your head, gaze down. You're gonna lace your fingers together, glue your palms shut, press down through the elbows, crawl your knees forward, curl the toes under, and take it into Dolphin. So Dolphin pose is very, very similar to downward facing dog, giving us the opportunity to send the flow of energy and circulation to the brow. Your head is lifted off the floor. Your triceps, your shoulders are working to lift you up. Exhale, descend to your knees. Come back to palms, downward facing dog. And then we're gonna travel the feet forwards. You can walk it, you can lunge it, or you can float through with both feet to the top of the mat, arriving halfway, and then exhale, lower back in. Inhale to Urdhva Skandasana, gazing straight ahead with your eyes today. Exhale, palms together and bow forward. Coming into Uttanasana, strong legs, strong core, nod your head, yes. Inhale, step into plank. Exhale, lower to chaturanga. Inhale to upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. And so the nice thing about meditation that really makes it the pinnacle of yoga is that it helps to activate the pineal gland. There are a couple things that occur in our lifetime that can shrink and calcify the pineal gland. One is not trusting or being guided by our intuition. Secondly, not meditating or doing practices like this. And third, fluoride calcifies the pineal gland. And that's even in our drinking water. Inhale, step your left foot forward in between the hands. Turn and plant the back foot to the floor. Take the hands up, turn towards the front door, lengthen out through your arms. Stretch out over the front leg, windmill down to triangle pose. So we need to stretch out our inner thighs. That's what I'm trying to target here with this pose. We're going to be led towards the end, towards a pose that's going to require this set of muscles. So really push back through your right hip, really straighten out through your left leg, really extend out over it. Shine your right fingertips towards the heavens. One more deep breath. Exhale, lunge the front knee. Bring the hands down to the floor. Look at me a moment because you're going to be turning away from me. You're going to shift your body to Skandasana side lunge, but facing that direction. So your left foot turns to face the corner of the mat. You're lunging the left knee, straightening the right. All right, now walk it over towards your right foot, lunge the right, and straighten out your left. Good, there's so many different variations of Skandasana. I'm being basic today. I'm just learning basic is good for me right now. Walk and travel towards your left foot. Get creative though, let your creative juices, come to the surface. If you have your favorite, use your favorite. Stepping back to the right foot. Good, coming over to the left again. And now swirl around to that low lunge. When you're ready, step it back to downward facing dog. Exhale, spill down to your knees, untuck your toes, come down to Sphinx. Pressing through the arms, elevating the chest, lengthen the legs and the neck. Close the eyes, gaze into the mind's eye. So musical instruments that can go with the third eye. The flute, again, good for throat and brow, which is why we're listening to this music. Chimes and bells are good for the third eye, as well as sounds of wind, birds, crickets. Exhale, let go a little bit, lace your fingers, glue your palms shut, shift back, crawl the knees forward. Take Dolphin. Strong upper body. Head's lifted away from the floor. Scalp shouldn't touch. Stay with your breath. Exhale, spill to the knees. Come back to your hands, tabletop. Shift into down dog. Right foot steps through between the hands. Back foot's going to spin down. And we're going to take that sequence from triangle to Shavasana. Lengthen your arms out over the legs. Press out through your left hip and lengthen over the right leg, windmill down to your triangle. Last week we worked on the throat and the neck. So determine here, should you keep a neutral neck? Should you turn your gaze up or should you turn it down? That awareness of what is best stems from the third eye. Affirming here, light and joy flow down to me. Gaze down, lunge that front knee, bring the hands down, bring them to the inside of the right foot to spin to Skandasana. Right foot turns to the corner of the mat, left leg straightens out. Then walk it over to the back side. Returning to the front side. Cross to the left. Final time to the right. And then after holding this for a couple breaths, spinning around to that low lunge. We're gonna bring the back foot forward, lift up halfway. Exhale, roll back down towards your legs. Sink the head. Affirming here, nothing and no one on this earth can hold me down or back from following my own intuitive guidance. Inhale, come up to the top. Shavasana, look straight ahead. Exhale, pour back down. All right, we're still preparing for some other poses. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, we're taking it back to plank and immediately lowering to chaturanga. Inhale, rising to upward facing dog. Exhale, rock and roll back to downward facing dog. So we're using gravity as a way to help us to bring the awareness into the brow. Think about how children naturally love to be upside down. As adults, we tend to shy away from it. This is something that's useful. We can take advantage of. Inhale, left foot steps through. Back heel is gonna hop over and plant down. So you're not just turning it down like you did before. And then inhale, rise, warrior one. From warrior one, we're gonna take it more into humble warrior by lacing the hands behind the back, opening the chest first, and then exhale, we bow the head to the inside of the knee. And see how this can be good for these higher energy centers. We're directing the energy to the brow. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, release your hands, spin away from the back heel. Step it back. Downward facing dog. Exhale to the knees. We're doing the same flow here, coming to Sphinx. Lifting the chest and the crown of the head. Lengthening back through the leg bones and feet. Closing the eyes, directing the energy to the brow. Lower the head, clasp your hands, shift it back, prepare for dolphin. Dolphin can be a lot for the deltoids, the outer shoulders. So if you're not feeling strong in this area, if this is taxing to you, and if it's too difficult, you can always do downward facing dog instead. Because both of these poses are good for the third eye. Exhale, sink to your knees. Inhale, return to Adho Mukha Svanasana. Inhale, right foot steps through between the hands. Left foot will step forward, offset, so that you can keep the hips fairly square as you rise up to warrior one. Hands linked together behind your back. Chest opens wide. Hinge forward from your hips. Release your neck. Clip your right hip in and under. Shoot your knuckles skyward. Inhale halfway up. Exhale, release the hands, step it forward. Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bow out. So inversions as well as forward folds can be calming for the mind. Right? So a lot of these poses that emphasize the third eye are calming for the mind. Those are forward folds and inversions. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart. All right, now, you guys are welcome to turn this way. You guys are welcome to turn this way. But you're going to separate your feet really wide. We're going into Prasarita Padottanasana. Since we've placed the hands in the humble warrior, let's do it this version. It's the C version. Shoulders roll back, chest pops open. Get your legs lifted and strong. And exhale, hinge over from the hips. Lower yourself down and receive. Halfway up. Exhale, release the hands, bring them down, shoulder distance apart, and go to Prasarita Padottanasana A. Arms are still working, just in a different way. Inhale, walk your hands out in front of you and form that angle from your wrist to your hips like you would in downward facing dog. One last breath. And walk your hands back in, stack them onto your hips, press down through the feet, and slowly elevate yourself back up. All right, so if you guys could move your mat to the back wall. Kristen, you could go either to the back or to the side. You are welcome to come up to the front. Steph, you're welcome to come up to the front here. So we're going to do a couple poses against the wall, and we're going to do actually Shavasana against the wall. And just so you guys know, you're not in the recording, so you're good. So the first thing we're going to do, since downward facing dog and dolphin and child's pose are like kind of the primary poses for the third eye, I thought we could do the one-legged down dog, but against the wall. Because this is what I often see. If we're not using the wall, I usually see this. Right? Look at my hips. See how cramped they are? See how out of alignment they are? Now, sometimes we do say scissor the leg. So if you hear the term scissor the legs, that's scissoring. All right, but if you hear Ekapada Adho Mukha Skandasana, one-legged downward facing dog, it's a different position. So that different position we're going to do here. So you'll line it up where your feet are kind of at the wall. Let me show you really quick. Once you get to downward facing dog, you kind of have to measure it out. You lift a foot, you tuck the toes, and you're pushing up through your heel. Now, how do my hips look now? They're more square, yeah. Versus being here, right? So that's what we're going to work on, the one-legged downward facing dog. So you get in a tabletop position where your feet are not quite at the wall, because you'll need some space to create your inversion. When you're ready, create the inversion. Your heels touch the wall, you may be still a little too close, but you can test the waters by lifting your right foot up, tucking the toes, pushing up and back through the calf and heel, and you're still pressing into your hands, so your chest is moving towards the wall and your head is bowed, so the ears are in line with your upper arms. You guys are doing awesome. The toes actually point down. Heel presses up. That's it. That was a good adjustment, Kristen. Shoulders open wide. Nice. Exhale, bring the right foot down. Let's go ahead and take the left foot up. Hands are pressing, chest is reaching back toward the wall, head bows between the arms, hips tee off, belly suctions in, secure your sacrum, and breathe. And exhale, come down, and we're gonna sink again into our first pose we started with, which is child's pose. Now, if you don't want to do it this traditional way, arms wrapped around you, you can do it another way. Just see if you can rest on your third eye. Affirming here, I release and relax away from all outer involvements into my own inner haven of peace. Push down into the hands and come on. All right, so I'm going to give you an option for Shavasana. So there is something called Waterfall Pose that we do with the block, right? We put the block under us and bridge and we float the feet up. Waterfall at the wall is a little bit different. We use a bolster. If you don't feel like having the bolster under your sacrum, you can just be flat on your back and do simple legs up the wall. So I'll give you the example of this. So legs up the wall would appear like this. If you want the waterfall version, you bring the feet up, down the wall to push in to lift the hips. You bring the bolster under you and then straighten out your legs. Now, the key ingredient here is to allow the bolster to come up the back a little beyond the sacrum so that your sits bones kind of hang over towards the wall side. And your arms can be in any position. If your sits bones hang on the front side of the bolster, it'll allow for a large expansive belly where it's not cut off or cinching at the bottom. And I'll just let you get into that position. Check in with your head, right? If you need a blanket under your head, you can add that in. If you feel like you need any extra props, give me a hand wave or signal, and I can come help. Yogi Bhajan used to say, going through life without intuition is like driving a car without any side or rear view mirrors. And we're only relying on what lies straight ahead. So it's allowing our perception to be more expansive, to be able to see things from different angles and viewpoints. Our inner focus can act like a flashlight, illuminating what we need to see and uncover. Ascending to the sixth chakra opens us up to new realms. The expansion can radically shift our perspective, bringing profound insight and vision. It allows us to explore the beautiful world of symbols and synchronicities, dreams and fantasies, archetypes and images. I'm going to shift our music so that we're listening to the seed mantra of the chakra, which is Om. So for the remainder of the practice, I just want you to rest, listen, and absorb these vibrations. Slide your feet down the wall. The bolster's underneath you. You're going to push the feet into the wall to lift your hips up, to slide the bolster away. rolling down to the sacrum, over to one side of your body. When we come up to take a seat, go ahead and sit with back support against the wall. Take the dominant hand. Use one of the fingers just to lightly tap the third eye, the place not just in between the eyebrows, but slightly above that point. Gaze up to that region with your eyes, flip your hands open on your lap, and bring the ring finger to meet your thumbs. This is the mudra for health and intuition. Let's end our practice by chanting Om together. Breathing in. Hands together, bring the thumbs to the brow. Remember, if thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be filled with light. Stay.